Imagine you're facing your final hours on Earth. The state has given you one last request, a meal of your choice. Some pick comfort food, others choose extravagance, and a few, well, they leave us scratching our heads. Today we're counting down the top 10 craziest death row meals in history, and trust me, number 1 is so bizarre, you won't believe it was real. Let's get started. Number 10. Simple Feast of Comfort. Victor Feguier. Victor Feguier was convicted of kidnapping and murder in 1960. When it came time for his final meal in 1963, his request was astonishingly simple: one olive with the pit still inside. That's it. He explained that he hoped the olive tree would grow from his grave as a symbol of peace. This small yet poetic gesture left a lasting impression. Feguier's olive pit was later found in his pocket after his execution, sparking curiosity about his motives. Was this an act of remorse or simply a way to be remembered? Whatever the case, it's a stark contrast to the extravagance of others on this list. A hauntingly poetic gesture or just plain strange? You decide. Number 9. The Endless Buffet. Ronnie Lee Gardner. Ronnie Lee Gardner had a unique way of saying goodbye. In 2010, this Utah convict requested steak, lobster tail, apple pie, vanilla ice cream, and, to top it all off, he wanted to watch the Lord of the Rings trilogy. The prison staff obliged, giving Gardner hours to enjoy his favorite films along with his extravagant meal. What stands out here isn't just the meal, but the addition of an entire movie marathon. Imagine sitting there, savoring lobster and pie, while Frodo and Sam march toward Mordor. This wasn't just a meal, it was a personal farewell to the world, a final binge of epic proportions. Who else can say their last meal came with Gandalf and Frodo? Number 8. Just Coffee. James Edward Smith. James Edward Smith went against the norm with his death row request in 1990. Instead of food, he asked for a single cup of dirt. Yes, dirt. Smith claimed it was for a voodoo ritual he wanted to perform to ensure his soul's safety. Unsurprisingly, the prison denied this unusual request, citing health and procedural concerns. Smith ended up settling for a single cup of black coffee instead. While this might seem mundane compared to his initial request, it's still one of the strangest and most spiritual gestures we've seen. Was this about superstition or just a way to stand out? From voodoo to caffeine. What a strange way to go. Number 7. A family-sized pizza. For everyone, Philip Workman. Convicted of killing a police officer in 1982, Philip Workman's final meal request in 2007 wasn't for himself. Instead, he asked for a large vegetarian pizza to be donated to a homeless person. Although his request wasn't officially granted, it inspired people across Tennessee to donate pizzas to the homeless in his honor. This act of kindness sparked a movement. News outlets covered the story, and people nationwide found themselves reflecting on the humanity of death row inmates. Workman's request was more than a meal. It was a message. It's rare for a death row meal to spark generosity, but Workman's request left a surprisingly wholesome legacy. Number 6. A bucket list of calories. John Wayne Gacy, serial killer. John Wayne Gacy, infamous for his heinous crimes in the 1970s, had a last meal as excessive as his persona. His request: a dozen deep-fried shrimp, a bucket of KFC fried chicken, French fries, and a pound of strawberries. Gacy's request reflected his larger-than-life ego. It's worth noting that before his crimes, Gacy managed 3 KFC restaurants, making the bucket of fried chicken a dark nod to his past life. The mix of indulgence and familiarity makes this one of the most unsettling meals on this list. Gacy's gluttonous goodbye is as unsettling as his crimes, making this meal one for the books. Number 5. A massive feast for one. Timothy McVeigh. The Oklahoma City bomber. Timothy McVeigh's meal in 2001 reflected no remorse, just indulgence. His request was 2 pints of mint chocolate chip ice cream. That's it. No main course, no sides, just dessert. McVeigh's choice raises questions. Was this a final act of defiance or simply a sweet escape? The simplicity of his request contrasts sharply with the complexity and devastation of his actions. Cold, sweet, and simple, a chilling reflection of a man who shook the nation. Number 4. Refusing food. Aileen Wuornos. Aileen Wuornos, often called America's first female serial killer, took a different approach in 2002. She declined a formal meal entirely. Instead, she asked for a simple cup of black coffee. Wuornos's choice was as stark and unapologetic as her personality. Her story has been immortalized in films and documentaries, but this small detail adds another layer to her complex legacy. Was it an act of defiance, or did she simply not care? A quiet, bitter end for one of the most infamous women in criminal history. Number 3. Lobster tail and luxury. Alan Lee Davis. Alan Lee Davis, also known as Big Al, made a grand statement with his 1999 meal. He requested lobster tail, fried shrimp, fried clams, half a loaf of garlic bread, and a 32-ounce A&W root beer. It was a luxurious meal, complete with a heaping dose of cholesterol. This over-the-top request reflected Davis's larger-than-life attitude. It's almost as if he wanted to leave behind a sense of indulgence despite his horrific crimes. Big Al's last meal was all about indulgence. No apologies, just extravagance. Number 2. A single peanut and Coke. Odell Barnes. Odell Barnes made a cryptic statement with his last meal in 2000. He asked for justice, equality, and world peace. Since none of those could be delivered, he ultimately settled for a single peanut and a can of Coca-Cola. This minimalistic request left people wondering, was it a protest, a joke, or simply a reflection of his views on the justice system? Whatever the case, Barnes's meal stands out as one of the most thought-provoking on this list. Was it a symbolic protest, or a final act of irony? Either way, Barnes made his mark with this unconventional meal. Number 1. A meal for the ages. Lawrence Russell Brewer. And finally, the most infamous death row meal of all time. Lawrence Russell Brewer requested an outrageous feast in 2011. 2 chicken fried steaks with gravy, a triple bacon cheeseburger, a cheese omelette, a large bowl of fried okra, 3 fajitas, a pound of barbecue, half a loaf of white bread, a meat lover's pizza, a pint of Bluebell ice cream, and 3 root beers. The kicker? Brewer refused to eat a single bite. His antics caused Texas to ban special last meals altogether. This meal wasn't just extravagant, it had real consequences. Brewer's actions ended a long-standing tradition, leaving future death row inmates with standard prison food for their final moments. An over-the-top farewell that ended an entire tradition. Brewer's meal will forever go down in history as the ultimate death row spectacle. From olives to elaborate feasts, death row meals reveal a strange, humanizing side to even the most infamous criminals. Which one shocked you the most? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more bizarre history content. See you in the next video.